Hey guys, what's up? It's Eric with Advanced Level Automotive, coming back to you with another video. Got quite a few things going on around the shop. But let me show you something. It is hot today, and when I say hot, I mean, there's my thermometer I have up on the wall next to my fire extinguisher. Let me tell you, I think this thing's broken because it's just been stuck at 100. But man, it's hot. Anyway, we got a few things going on, working on the AC on this Buick over here. We got to pull the dash out of this Ram 3500. We just finished doing an evaporator core on this Chrysler 300. We had to pull the entire dash out to replace the evaporator core. This one's done. Pretty much just waiting for the customer to pick it up. I also have my wife's truck over here that she actually wrecked it shortly after I made a video about it. And I haven't posted the video yet. I'm still editing it, but once I get it posted, you'll see what that's all about. But yeah, anyway, she got into an accident, so got a new header panel installed. It's got a new bumper, new front upper and lower bumper. The fender on this side I replaced the hood. Here's the old hood. Just had to transfer some pieces over. So I got the headlights on order. They're on the way. So once I get the headlights, the truck should be ready to go. Just get it detailed and you know, get it back on the road. But anyway, the one I want to concentrate on today is going to be this Toyota Tundra. It's a 2018 I-Force, whatever that means, 5.7 liter V8. This truck just got towed here. It actually belongs to the owner of an electric company that we have down over here. And he called me up, told me that the truck wouldn't start. It cranks, but it does not start. And so he had to get it towed over here. Anyways, I got the key. The truck just got here, so let me verify the complaint. Got the key. Let's go ahead and see if it cranks. Turn the key on. Looks like everything lights up. Let's crank it. Well, it certainly cranks, but does not start. So I guess a couple of the basic checks that I like to do, first of all, is let's see if the check engine illuminates whenever we turn the key on. And it sure does. It's right down there. So that does indicate that the computer is communicating. The other check is that we could watch the tachometer, see if it moves when it's cranking. This doesn't always work, but sometimes it'll tell us something. But in this case, that tachometer does not move. So I guess let's do some basic checks. All right, so the first thing I want to check is whether or not there's any code stored in the computer. So I got my trusty little auto link right here. You know, I could bust out the big guns, but I mean, why? You know, just something quick and simple. Turn the key on, grab my little scan tool here. Let's check it out, see what we got. Give it a second. It says codes found 0. Let's see if we can pull up any live data. Alright, so it looks like we can communicate with this thing, and we're showing some live data. There are no codes stored in the system, so I mean, I guess probably one of the things that we can look at is just to see if there is an RPM reading on this while I'm cranking it. So I think I skipped it here. Where did it go? Where did you go? There we go, RPM right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crank this thing and watch it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and crank it. And we have nothing. All right, guys, so here's the problem with looking at the RPM during cranking, is that it doesn't always tell you whether or not, you know, there's an issue with the crank sensor not reading, because not all vehicles will show an RPM reading during cranking. Some won't show an RPM reading until the engine actually starts. So I'm just going to kind of keep that in the back of my mind, but I'm not going to follow that. I think the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that there's even fuel in the gas tank, because if you look at the little fuel gauge right here, it's actually close to empty, or right about on empty. So maybe there's an easy way to check the fuel pressure. Let's go under the hood. All right, guys, so we're under the hood. I went ahead and popped this cover off. It's really simple. We'll just lift up on it, get it out of the way so I can eyeball the fuel rail, so I wanted to see if there was maybe a service port, make it easy for us to check the fuel pressure. But in looking at this setup, I don't see any service port, so we're gonna have to do this the hard way. Also looking at this fuel rail, it actually looks like they're two independent fuel rails, because there is no crossover pipe going from one side to the other. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is just go ahead and remove each clip here, or remove the line, and hook up my fuel gauge and see if we have fuel pressure. All right, so I went ahead and got the line disconnected here, the fuel line. First thing I noticed that I didn't like is that I didn't have any fuel coming out. I mean, it was just barely dripping out. So this thing really should have had a lot of pressure behind it, but there really wasn't hardly any. So that's an indication that we may have a fuel problem here, or at least either a fuel pump or a control problem to the fuel pump. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have somebody cycle the key real quick to see if we have any fuel coming out. All right, go ahead and cycle the key on. Key is on, and we have no fuel coming out of the fuel line here. All right, go ahead and crank it. Yeah, there's no fuel coming out. Well, I guess the first thing we want to do is just make sure that we even have fuel in the tank. So let me run down to the gas station, get some gas, and put it in, see what happens. All right, so we went and got some gasoline. Got my model Chris over here. We got in there about 5 gallons.
4.
We're just gonna put some gas in there and see what happens.
It's 101 degrees right now in Houston. Actually 104.
It's hot. All right, so we just got done putting a few gallons of gas in the tank. We're gonna go ahead and crank it again, see if we got any fuel coming out. And I'm not seeing anything. All right, guys, so I guess the next easiest check that we can do is to check the fuel pump fuse. I've already got the cover off, and I've already located the fuel pump fuse. It's this 25 amp fuel pump fuse right there. And got my power probe connected, so I'm gonna go ahead and just check each side of this fuse. We got power there, and we got power there. So the fuse is good. Let's go ahead and locate the relay. It's going to be this one right here. This one right here. This is the fuel pump relay. Let's go ahead and pull it out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a jumper from my kit here. We'll just use the pliers supplied in the kit. Let's pop up this relay like so. Uh-oh, dropped it. Let me get it. All right, so I've got the relay out. I'm gonna go ahead and match it up to the one in the kit, which I believe is this one. Let's look at the leg arrangement here. And yep, that's it right there. So we're gonna go ahead and plug this in. And place the relay right there, and then we're gonna go ahead and stick the relay on top of it. All right, so now that we have the relay installed on the tester, we're gonna go ahead and use our power probe. And if the relay is engaged and it's working, then we should have 1 ground and 3 powers. So let's check here. All right, that pin is a ground. This pin is a power right here. Let me switch hands because I'm right-handed. Let's move over to this side of the relay. All right, so we got a power there and a power there. All right, so what that tells us is that the fuse is good, the relay is good. When the circuit's closing the relay, it is sending a power out. If you check the wiring diagram, I believe that there is a fuel pump control module that this relay is powering up. So I think that's probably the next thing we're going to want to check, because according to what we're finding here, the computer is turning the fuel pump on, or at least it's giving power to the fuel pump module. So let's go to the module and check that out. All right, guys, so the next thing I want to try to do is I want to see if I can bidirectionally control the fuel pump to come on using the scan tool. So I got the MaxiSys hooked up. I'm going to go to active tests and see if there's a activation for the fuel pump. Looks like there is a control fuel pump speed. It says this test activates the fuel pump control on and off. Operate with ignition on, engine off, shift and park commands on and off. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit OK. Let's just do a quick custom list. Those are just for data PIDs. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're just hitting OK, whatever. So what I'm going to look at is the fuel pump speed. So right now we have it to off. I'm going to go ahead and hit on. I don't hear the fuel pump coming on. Let's hit off. Do it on again. Then off. Alright, so we are commanding the fuel pump to come on. I'm going to hit on one more time. Now it's on. If you look right here, fuel pump should be on. Let's go back under the hood. And you can see that there is no fuel coming out of that fuel line. So that's a little more indication that we might be having a problem with the fuel pump itself, or at least a problem with power or ground at the fuel pump. Alright guys, so I've decided to get up underneath the truck so that I could locate the fuel pump control module. And I think I've located it. Let me see if I can show you where it's at. You see, this is the driver's side rear tire, the leaf spring right here. This is the frame. If you look up inside the frame, you'll find the fuel pump control module. Two connectors right here. See if I can get a good shot of it. Alright, so we got two connectors right here. And this side is for the control and everything, but this side right here is the power and the ground for the fuel pump. So I'm going to go ahead and pierce these wires and see if we got a good power and a ground going to this fuel pump. Alright guys, so I got my piercing probe hooked up to the blue wire right here. I'm not really sure which one's supposed to be power or ground, but I'm going to go ahead and check both. So I got my power probe right here. See if I can get a good angle of it. It's kind of hard to do this under the truck, but let's see if I can try to get you guys a good angle. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and touch it here with my power probe. As you can see, we got power there. Now let's go ahead and check the other side. The key for the ignition is on. We go ahead and switch it over. Alright, so now we're on the red wire. I'm going to go ahead and check it. As you can see, we got power there. I believe this may actually be a ground side switch circuit. So let's go ahead and activate the fuel pump. I got my buddy Chris inside the truck with the scan tool ready to activate the pump. And when I tell him to activate the pump, he's going to do so. So I'm going to put this on here. And go ahead and turn it on. As you can see, we got a good ground. Turn it off. Alright, so as you can see, that is the ground side switch part of the circuit. So the red is the control wire. The blue should be a constant power feed. Let's go back to the blue and just double check that we have a constant power feed, even when the fuel pump is on. Alright, so we're back on the blue wire. I'm going to go ahead and touch it. Turn the pump on. It's on? Yep. Alright, so we do have a constant power feed here, and we have a good ground on the control side, but this fuel pump is just not coming on, so looks like we're going to have to drop the fuel tank. Alright guys, so believe it or not, it's looking like a truck, 2018 Toyota pickup truck, Tundra, with only 58,000 miles needs a fuel pump. So I just checked the price on this fuel pump. It's not cheap, and this thing is a flex fuel, so it is a little bit more expensive for the flex fuel pump. But yeah, let me just show you how many miles. We got 58,957 miles, and this thing already needs a fuel pump, but that's just the way it goes. Alright guys, so we got the gas tank out of the vehicle. Wasn't too difficult. A few hoses, some electrical connections, and 3 straps. There's the fuel pump right there. We're going to go ahead and knock this ring out, clean up this area, knock that ring out, pull the pump out, replace it with the new one, get it back in the vehicle. You want the pump out. Time to put the new pump in. Got the new one installed. Alright, so we got the new pump installed, gas tank reinstalled. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing back on the ground, see if it starts up. Alright guys, so here's a moment of truth. I'm gonna go ahead and reach in and crank the engine over. Let it build up pressure. Try it one more time. There we go. Purring like a kitten. I tried to cycle the key to prime it a few times, but it still seemed like it just had to have an extended crank in order for it to build up enough pressure to get it started. But once it got started, this thing's running great. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please hit the like button. If you enjoyed the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, you can always comment down below. I'll try to answer as many as I can, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.